ChatGTV. Here we cover news, views, reviews, and a lot more. I am Avantika Sarkar, a senior school student from G.D. Birla Center for Education. Today's episode continues giving us valuable insights and strategies on the forthcoming ICSE examinations. I hereby welcome our senior mathematics teachers, Ma'am Shampi Mukherjee, Ma'am Ruchira Mukherjee, and Sir Mrinmoy Mitro. So, sir, my first question goes to you. A lot of students, including me as well, we have this misconception about mathematics as a very scary subject. It's something that intimidates a lot of us. So, what do you think? What sort of mindset should we have so that we can overcome this fear and actually do well in this subject?
Yes, Avantika, your question is highly relevant and beneficial to all the students preparing for the ICSE examination. The students are very close to the exam and their preparation is almost over and they are ready for the exam. But this is a very crucial time for the students. So, they should try to remain in a calm, composed, and relaxed state of mind to optimize the performance.
Thank you, sir. And I wanted to ask you another thing. What are some strategies that you think we can have, or especially the ICSE students can have, so that they can do well in the exams?
The students should go to the exam hall with a positive mindset and full confidence. Upon entering the examination hall, the student must take the seat specified by them and they should be in a very relaxed mood. After getting the question paper, they should go through the entire question paper. They should mark the question they want to attempt. They should underline wherever necessary. But this 15 minutes reading time is very important for the student. This time should be utilized to develop the basic strategy to write the examination.
I would like to interrupt you, sir. Student can attempt a question more than once. Suppose you are trying a particular question, you are solving a particular question, and you are not getting the answer. You are not confident with the answer, so you are trying it again and again. So do not cancel any attempt. So whichever attempt will be the high scorer, maximum mark scorer will be considered. Okay, and next is in the section B part. The students are supposed to answer 4 questions. So suppose if you have extra time, you may attempt one more question. Okay, so best out of 4, the best of 4 out of 5 will be considered.
And the last point I'd like to mention that student must finish the exam at least 10 minutes before the exam ends. And this 10 minutes time should be properly utilized for the revision. And while revision, there may be some minor mistake that can be detected and rectified. So these are the following guidelines. If the student follow, I think they will probably be benefited a lot.
Thank you, sir. I am sure that we all will benefit from this. Make sure that you listen to what sir said. Ma'am, my next question goes to you. I gave my ICSE examinations last year, and I remembered that for our mathematics paper, we got 2.5 hours. This year, I heard that the students are getting 3 hours. We did not get that.
Don't be jealous, Avantika.
So, ma'am, I was wondering, what is different this year? Are the number of questions different? Is the format different? Why 3 hours?
There is no change in the format and there is no change in the number of questions as well. So this extra time they can utilize for 25% critical thinking questions. So this year they have introduced. So they can think the questions, they can analyze the questions and can solve the questions. So this is an advantage, definitely an advantage for them. So they can utilize this time for solving those questions.
I think that sounds pretty fair because we didn't have that many critical questions back in our year. Another thing that I wanted to ask to all of you in general, what are some common errors you think that the students make in the ICSE examinations? What can they do to avoid those?
Yes, definitely this is a valid question. So let's speak topic wise, or let me start with the first point is the incorrect formula. Incorrect formula or incorrect substitution in the correct formula. So, so the students must learn the formula and revise the formula regularly. Second point is the arithmetic mistakes, simple arithmetic mistakes such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, or sign while doing the simplification. Okay, so double check the calculation part. So next point is always keep the answer up to 2 decimal places. For example, if we consider the chapter quadratic equation, where you are asked to find out the roots of the equation, right? So there we use the Sridharacharya formula to solve. Okay, so once we are calculating, suppose if we get a number square root of 57, so what you are supposed to do, you have to see the square root of 57 from the log book, and for example the value is 7.5498. Okay, so you must take the entire value 7.5498 for the calculation. Do not approximate in between the steps anywhere. Okay, so do the calculation taking considering 7.5498, and at the end, okay, at the last step you will round it off to 2 decimal places if nothing is specified in the question. Okay, so suppose if the in the question it is specified that round it off to 1 decimal place or 3 decimal places, so you will round it off accordingly. So it's a suggestion that do not approximate in between the steps. So take the entire, at least calculation must be with 3 to 4 decimal places. Coming to the next point, from the chapter proportion, okay, where the question comes usually that using the properties of proportion, solve for x. That is, you are asked to use the property componendo and dividendo. There, the showing the property, that is n plus numerator plus denominator divided by numerator minus denominator on both the sides. So we have seen that there are often the students, they don't show the steps. Okay, the where you are using the property, they just skip that step, and after solving that part, whatever the simplified answer you get, they show that they start from that step. So showing wherever you are using the property of componendo dividendo, it is mandatory to show that initial basic step. So whenever you are using any formula or any property or any law, so it is mandatory to show that step. Okay, so if we come to the graph questions, suppose now we are let us consider the graphical part in histogram or in reflection or in ogive. In reflection, let me talk about the reflection part, where the question comes that give the geometrical name of the diagram you have. After reflecting the points, whatever figure you have got, give the geometrical name of the figure. In that case, you have to be specified about the geometrical name. For example, suppose you have got a quadrilateral, so what type of quadrilateral it is, you must be specific about that, whether it's a rectangle or a square or a rhombus or a trapezium. If it is a trapezium, whether it's an isosceles trapezium or not, you also must mention. In case of a triangle, whether it's a right angle triangle, equilateral triangle, or a scalene triangle, okay, whatever type is, you must mention the type. And also, if suppose if it is a 5-sided polygon, so write it as pentagon, 6-sided polygon, hexagon, like this, like nonagon, decagon. And after that, if it comes, then 11-sided polygon or 12-sided polygon you may mention. Do not mention like fish, boat, sheep. These are not the geometrical name. Okay, always mention the geometrical name of the figure. Okay, and in case of histogram, if we talk about the histogram or the ogive or the cumulative frequency curve, we have to plot the class interval on the x-axis. Suppose the class intervals are given from 500 to 600, 600 to 700, 700 to 800, like this. So we have 100 units gap. Okay, so if we start from 500, plotting on the x-axis, so the x-axis we are taking the origin as 0 and then 500, so there is a jump in the scale. Okay, so you must give a kink. If there is a jump on the scale on the x-axis as well as on y-axis, so you must give a kink on the x-axis as well as on the y-axis. That is a mandatory step. And don't forget to put arrows while drawing the x-axis and y-axis, okay, on both sides. Okay, and next is the ogive. I was talking about ogive, cumulative frequency curve. What we have to do, we are plotting the upper limit with the corresponding cumulative frequency, right? So while plotting the points, this ogive is a smooth curve, freehand smooth curve. So don't use scale to join the points. Okay, so these are the common errors with respect to the graphical part. I think ma'am would also like to add few more points.
Yes, I will add few more. In the linear inequation, right? That transpose of sides normally students can manage, but they face problem whenever the inequality that they multiply the negative sign, right? So the next line, the inequality sign should change. So they're very common mistakes which we normally see when we go to the solution set, whether it is given, asked or not, right? But you will always give the solution set properly, right? Either in the set builder form or in the roster form. Now we come to the number line. That is very important. Whenever that the improper fraction that has been changed to the mixed fraction, then you plot those points on the number line, use proper scale. Now, right and left two ends always give extra 2 points and with the arrow, that is compulsory. This is linear inequation. After that, we will go for the probability, right? Probability is the favorable outcomes divided by the possible outcomes. Very common thing which we notice, 2 by 4 may be the answer or 3 by 6 the answer. We always say reduced form, give it in the reduced form. Now, 2 by 4, mentally you can calculate 1 by 2, 3 by 6, 1 by 2. So, students avoid that part. They just directly write 1 by 2 or the sample space of the favorable outcome. That if you miss, automatically marks will be deducted for that. So, that part you need to be little careful. You can score high for that. Okay. Another more point, that is ratio. If the question is coming in ratio, so try to give the answer in ratio. Ma'am, one more point I think, that is geometry, right? Circle. Wherever
yeah.
we that time, so there the correct reasoning, the valid reason for the each and every step. That is, I
In
think,
support of your answer, you have to
you have
give
to.
the-
It's a mandatory, right? So for this part, hope we have covered more or less.
Yes, in one more point in heights and distance, where if the diagram is not given, so you have to draw the diagram, and especially the angle of depression. Student missed out to draw the angle of depression, so it is mandatory. I think that we have covered almost all areas.
Ma'am, I think I would say 2-3 more points, not chapter wise. That is the whenever they copy the questions from the question paper, right? So they need to be very alert about when they are copying this. Why? Because x square mentioned, and students copy it as x cube. So automatically, then the first step error comes. Another thing that always try to give the answer in the reduced form, right? Like already we have discussed about that. So that one you will give it in the reduced form. This is the second part. And the third one, that is try to avoid the mental calculation. Hope everyone will do well for your forthcoming ICSE examination. All the best from all of us.
Thank you so much, teachers. I'm sure that everybody is going to benefit from this discussion. And thus, this episode comes to an end. Our next episode is going to feature our mathematics teachers again, this time sharing valuable tips for the ISC examinations. So, make sure that you follow our special series for the board examinations 2025. Stay tuned. This is ChatGPT.